missing. Where they bring me.
Hello, and welcome to another segment of the award-winning talk show, Unveiling Africa. I'm your host, Kristen Dako McCary, and I'm here today with a very special guest of mine, Miss Brenda Ijiwoye. Welcome,
Hello.
Brenda.
Thank you.
Well, Brenda is here today as a special guest to talk about a particular disease. We have health segments now on Unveiling Africa where we bring awareness of diseases or things that are health conscious issues so we can take better care of our bodies. So she's going to tell us today about a disease that's prevalent in the western part of America. But we believe that it's prone to people of African origins or people of black descendants. Let's go back to her and she'll tell us a lot more about this disease, which we should bring more awareness of so that we can prevent it or be prepared for it like she wasn't. Okay, let's go to Brenda. First of all, Brenda, give us a background of who you are and where you come from.
Hello, my name is Brenda Ijiwoye. I came to this, actually born in Nigeria, and I came to this country when I was 18. So I was pretty much like a little baby coming to this country. And since I've been here, I've kind of evolved and, have my own family, 3 wonderful kids. I'm now a registered nurse by profession and pretty much traveled around America. And my plan actually is to actually return back home at some point to further, education, health. That's the big thing now. Everyone's trying to be health conscious and, and try to prevent a lot of diseases and things like that. So that's my mission. And so it's just pretty, that's pretty much it.
Where do you come from in Nigeria?
From Edo State. It's called Edo State.
That's in the middle part of the country, the southern middle part of the country.
Yeah.
And the capital is Benin City, the famous Benin Empire.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, what's your African name?
My African name, don't laugh at this, but my African name is Oholegbe.
What does that mean?
And that means that, because, we all have the title as a woman, but there are some women who are more powerful than other women, and happen to be one of them.
Oh, excuse me. There are only 2. There's only 1 diva in here now, okay? All right.
So actually my grandfather gave me that
name, yes.
Yeah.
And I think I know why he gave you that name. We were expecting a little boy and a little girl arrived and he said, you know what? She could be more powerful than boys, so that's why we'll call her a more powerful woman, Oholegbe. That's how that name came about.
Yeah.
Well, I love that name. Tell me now, so we're going to talk about a disease called
valley fever.
Now, it's not a life-threatening disease. I mean, it could be a potentially life-threatening disease, but let Brenda tell you what happened, how it happened to her, and what she learned from this whole process.
Well, I'm here today, and thank God. It was a miracle, actually. I lived in Arizona, which is kind of like the western part. And there's this particular respiratory infection. It's called valley fever, and the disease, it's a fungal infection, and it's actually called coccidiosis. And basically, it's in the soil because it's dry. It's in the desert, and when you disturb the soil, like either farming or construction and things like that, it affects the disturbs the soil. And when you inhale this, it goes into the spores. You inhale the spores and it goes into the lungs. And when you go into the lungs and it's not detected, you get sick from it. Unfortunately for me, there's some people, Caucasians, who can get it and it just be like a common cold. But like the doctor was telling me, for African descent or Filipinos, Hispanics, when we get it bad. So that was what my problem was. It kind of disseminated. They call it disseminated cocci. And that's what I had. It pretty much left my lungs. and it just disseminated to my backbone, and I had a bone infection.
Wow.
But before then, I mean, it was a long journey coming. They first diagnosed me with having pneumonia, because it's kind of mimics pneumonia, cough, fluid in your lungs, fever, and they were treating me for about 6 months. But I had this cough from hell, and it's like, even with the
Wasn't going away.
antibiotics, nothing was happening. I kept coughing and coughing and coughing. Finally went to the doctor, and they had the chest X-ray, and they found out that I had a fluid in my heart, and basically
lungs?
in my heart.
Your heart?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And basically, it was about 1.5 liters of fluid that had built up in my heart just because. And in fact, the doctor told me, he says, when I went there for the testing, he was like, you're not going home. You're going straight to the emergency room, because I was heading for a cardiac tamponade. A cardiac tamponade is when your heart, it's getting, filled with fluid. It kind of deviates the trachea, and that could stop you from breathing, and you just pretty much, you're gone. So that was the problem. So I had to go to the doctor, emergency room, and they drained out. They had to have emergency surgery, and they had to drain out, like I said, 1.5 liters of fluid from my heart. And I also had to have a JP drain, what they call a JP drain, for 2 days, just kind of draining out fluid and stuff. And at that time, I thought that was it. I went home and I thought everything was fine. Exactly 2 months after that, started having this back pain from hell. My husband's a chiropractor, and he kept treating me, but it wasn't working. And I was like, no, this is bad. I mean, it just felt like someone had like a light in my back. That's how, it was just like a burning pain. It wasn't no chiropractic, but it was a burning pain. And eventually I said, I have to go to the doctor. This is too much. And then they had at first they said it may be cancer.
God forbid.
And it was just so much. So eventually they were able to do a biopsy, and that biopsy revealed valley fever, which pretty much is a fungal infection. And that's why the antibiotics wasn't curing it, because it's a fungal infection. At that time, they had diagnosed me with just having one bone infected. And apparently the dose they gave me for the antifungal wasn't strong enough, so it kind of spread to 3 bones. And so I had to have another emergency surgery whereby they had to take a rib from my right rib to do a bone graft. And so they went in and cleaned out, pretty much it was an extensive surgery. They had to collapse one lung, kind of moved all my intestines and everything out of the way so they can get to the bone, to the vertebrae, to clean out everything, and then basically put this rods and screws in my back. And so like the doctor told me, he said, you're one lucky person, because, you could have died.
All your bones, and then you would have collapsed.
Pretty much that was it.
Oh, it could have gone to the brain.
Yeah. And that causes meningitis too. When the infection goes to the brain, it causes meningitis.
A very serious disease indeed. And the funny part about this is that even people in America on the eastern coast do not know about this disease.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm bringing this awareness to you, because we travel all over the country and we're not in one place at one time. We may be in Arizona for a vacation and come back with this disease. And if the doctors are not aware of this or have never heard of valley fever, you would die. You are likely to die.
Yeah, the surgeon did tell me that.
Yes.
He said, a lot of people come out to Arizona, play golf, they inhale in this because, you really can't prevent it because you're out out about, you inhale this. And they come back to the East Coast and they end up in the emergency room and they're treating them for something else because it's, like I said, it mimics pneumonia. So, and you eventually die because obviously you're treating the bacteria instead of a fungal infection.
Well, I'm very grateful to Brenda for bringing this information to us. She actually asked me to bring this to the forefront of everyone's knowledge, because she would have died if she wasn't happened to meet the right doctor. Because no one knew for months. We were going back and forth for tests. So I say this to say that, you might say, well, who cares about valley fever? Yes, care. Because it may not be you, It may be someone you know. It may be something you heard about a friend, and you might suggest, oh, I heard that on Unveiling Africa, that this lady caught a fungal disease called valley fever when she was in Arizona. So you went there for a golf outing. You went there to a spa, because we have lots of spa resorts over there, and you come back with some disease. And it says it's not contagious.
No, it's not.
But it's inhaled from the disturbed soil, either on a construction site where most of the spa resorts are, being renovated or rebuilt recently, or on a golf course, which is a soil on the ground, or also possibly from gardening, just doing light easy
Yard
gardening,
work.
yard work, So now, when after you were healed of or treated for this disease, how long did it take for you to recuperate, and what was the prognosis at that time?
Well, basically, it's case by case situation. In my case, they had told me, first of all, when I had the surgery, they told me I may not be able to walk because, now you're dealing with the spine. And they had told me I would probably be in rehab for like 4 to 6 weeks. But I was, like I said, God is good. And I was able to be discharged from the hospital about a week. And luckily for me, I was able to walk, and I actually didn't do that much physical therapy, but I had to be in this body brace for like 6 months, pretty much. I couldn't drive. I couldn't bend. I couldn't do anything, pretty much. I was just pretty much just trying to recuperate from the surgery, because now we're dealing with the surgery, with the rods and screws in my back, and also still trying to curtail the fungus, because it doesn't just go away. It takes a while for it to, and sometimes in some people it comes back because the medicine you get, which is the antifungal medicine. In my case, I took the diflucan. It just helps suppress the fungus, and it may come back through maybe stress or whatever may reoccur. And another thing too, that diflucan is also toxic to the liver, so you have to watch out for that as well. So I would say maybe at least a good 6 months. I was pretty much recuperating.
And we shall show pictures of how she looked after the surgery, what she was wearing during this time of recovery, and you'll be amazed at the transformation. Now look how pretty and beautiful she looked. You would never expect that she went through all that horror, but she has scars to show for it. But I bring this awareness to you all because I hate to see anyone die from this disease, because we should be made aware of what's going on in our country and beyond. And since we're a global village today, people are traveling in and out all over the world today. So you could come to America, go to Arizona, pick up this disease and go back to Africa or any part of the world, and no one will ever know. So hopefully everyone is watching my show on YouTube here in America, here in the tri-state area, and you will take this with you and share with your friends and say, you know what, I've shared it with some of my friends and they're very particular. And I told you one of them was going over to the West Coast, and she quickly called me and said, what's the name of that disease again, and what do I do to prevent it? So this is a way for us to prevent or to know if we ever fall ill. Let's start
get
somewhere.
Tested, get tested, especially if you get tested for pneumonia and it's or maybe they put you on an antibiotic regimen and it's still going on, then might say, well, test me for valley fever. I lived in Arizona for 6 years going on 7, and I never heard anything about valley fever. So I mean, as a nurse, if I'd known something about that, that's something that I would have suggested to the doctor as well. Can you test me for this? But I did not.
So we are bringing awareness. We are bringing awareness of valley fever. It's not contagious, but it's a deadly disease. Could potentially kill you. Now,
there's people who have actually been paralyzed because of this disease. Going into their spine. There's people who have, like I said, had meningitis. I went through my struggles and going to testing and everything. I met this one lady who the mom had it, and it had went to the brain. And eventually she passed away. I know a neighbor of mine who said the child had it at six years old, and they kind of like nursed it until the child finally died at 16.
Oh no!
So for 10 years, this girl
poor
was just
child
going through
suffered.
this, you know, and eventually
so,
died.
parents at what age? Is there an age range? Is there a
No.
susceptible age that you could
Well,
get?
not really, but basically they say that, you know, once again, elderly, suppressed suppressed,
Patients.
yeah,
With
exactly,
yeah.
yeah. They are more prone to that. You know, if you have comorbidities like diabetes and things like that, you know, you're pretty much more susceptible to it.
Gosh.
Yeah.
This
So,
is serious.
I've known people who it has gone to their fallopian tubes and they now can have kids.
Infertile, yeah.
You know, so it's a serious disease. It is.
I
It
thank you
is.
for bringing awareness to this disease and
Yeah.
for letting us share this information to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And now, how can you continue this awareness on your own? And I know this is one way of continuing the awareness, but
Yeah.
have you ever thought about any way you could promote this awareness in other parts of the
I
world?
try.
as well?
I that's my intention. My intention is to actually, because you know, even like, you know, places in Africa like Egypt, some northern states in Nigeria, we have that dryness. We have that like kind of like desert, which, you know, you never know. There may be some undisturbed soil that is growing this fungus, and so, you know, my plan, you know, I have not started yet, but you know, my daily meetings, when I meet people, I kind of tell them what I went through, and a lot of them are like, wow, you know, they, you know, really, if you really take a poll, I mean, nobody has really heard about this disease, and it's like, come on, you know.
Until you had it, I never heard about it.
Yeah. So my plan actually though is to maybe, you know, go back to Africa, to Nigeria, starting because that's where I'm from, to bring awareness, you know, maybe some talks or seminars and things like that. When I do my health, you know, we'll talk about diabetes, we'll talk about other things, and I will throw in the valley fever in there as well.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, and good for the people too. Now, on a lighter note, what's your favorite Nigerian food?
Oh boy.
I usually ask this of my guests because I just want to espouse our culture, our food, our fashion, our artists.
Yeah. I'm actually like moi moi.
Moi moi.
Yeah,
I think you're the first person to say that on my show. Moi moi. Can you explain what moi moi is and how you make it?
It's black-eyed beans, and basically what you do is you just blend it, really pasty, and then you mix it in with seasonings and stuff. And you know, and then you steam it, and it forms kind of like like a soft pudding or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't. What do you do with the beans though? You don't.
You have to wash it. You have to soak it. You soak the beans for a little bit till it gets soft, and then you wash it, and the black
Skin,
eyes
yeah.
and the skin comes off. So now it becomes this white beans. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's nice. And how do you eat this? With just
You can eat it by itself. You can eat it with what we call gari, which is kind of like a
dried cassava.
Yeah. You can eat it with that, and then and you know, you can eat it with what we also call pap, which is akamu. You know.
Okay. All right. It's like a soft custard.
Like a custard
Consistency.
Yeah.
Now, I also ask my guests, what countries in Africa would you like to visit? Because we are making Africa open to the rest of the world, and we want to invite everyone to come back to Africa because it's a wonderful continent. And even though we live in America, we love being in America. But I just want the rest of the world to know what's out there. And because Africa, I consider as the last frontier, it's a global village now, and economically, we are looking to Africa to be the next frontier. So, what countries in Africa would you like to visit if you had given the opportunity to?
I want to say Kenya.
Okay. That's President Barack Obama.
That's why.
But
That's
then again,
why.
I hear it's a beautiful country.
Yes, yes. And then also maybe Togo. I've heard a lot about Togo, and you know, I'm Nigerian, and we speak English. In Togo, it's a different language, you know, more French. So I kind of like that, since maybe I can make it to Paris anytime soon. So that's probably the next best thing. And then, you know, also promoting my continent pretty much. So yeah.
Okay, so Togo, which is on the western side of
Yeah.
Nigeria, actually our next door neighbor.
Yeah.
And and
Kenya.
Kenya, which is in Central or Eastern Africa.
Yeah.
So that's a good combination.
Yeah.
Tell me this: what legacy would you like to leave behind? What else do you want to do as a nurse? What legacy would you like to leave behind for the future generation?
Actually, I've thought about this, and I kind of like want to do stuff for like the less fortunate children in Africa. I see a lot of orphans, based on for whatever reason, and these kids need someone to actually advocate for them. So and some of them too are, what would I say? They met with, diseases and things like that, So kind of want to bring awareness, kind of want to bring a kind of like a foundation that will help these kids, try to find a good home for them. Not just providing, support financially or, feeding them, but actually finding a home, kind of like a foster thing. I don't know. I haven't really done, great research, but I don't know if somebody is doing that in Africa as
But
far
even if
as
they're
just,
doing, Africa it's a billion population,
Yeah.
so there's never too many and there's never too much.
Yeah.
So even if there's someone else is doing it, I'm sure you'll find plenty of other children
Yeah.
to take care of or
Yeah.
to foster
And-
or to empower.
Yeah, because I think it's not just to provide relief for them.
Yeah.
I think providing a good home,
Yeah.
a good environment for
Yeah.
them
And
also
life
makes
skills,
them
and
makes
life
the,
skills,
makes
yeah.
them thrive well in life.
Right,
So
right.
that's something that I would like to
For us to do.
yeah.
Well, that sounds like a very
Yeah.
good plan. Thank you. Now, as we go along and we talk about health issues, how do you see the health situation in Africa, but especially in Nigeria, where you come from? How do you see that, and how can you improve upon that?
Unfortunately, this is a sad situation because I think a lot more can be done.
Yes.
We've come a long way, but I
Yes.
think a lot more has been done. Two personal dear people have died. My mom
lack
and
of,
my
proper care.
brother-in-law, and they didn't need to have to die. So when I think about that, I said, this is not right. We need to do something about it. Instead of the people who can afford to go out of the country and get health care, what about the other ones who can't?
Cannot, yes.
So that's one thing that I think we need to do. We need to try to do better in our healthcare system. Affordability, availability,
yes.
Those are the things that I think we definitely need to.
And proper facilities.
Yeah.
Because
And proper
how can you have
working
a hospital
equipment,
with no
proper working
Yeah.
equipment, Yeah.
So I really applaud you for that, and I appreciate your concerns and your vision. I hope and pray that we will all put our 2 cents in this and make it a thriving, responsible medical or health care facility. I'm honing on health issues this year because I want to see a lot more done.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we've lost very, very dearly loved ones who did not die from cancer or from terribly bad diseases, but simple diseases that would have been cured quickly in the western part, western part of the world. So we really applaud and appreciate and encourage health people, healthcare people to come into Africa, to come into our different countries and promote better health care.
Yeah. One more thing I want to add too is, the emergency.
Yes.
Emergency.
Oh, it does not exist.
Emergency. 911. Where the ambulances, where the the right there first aid. Things like that. Those are the things.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are they?
Where
are they? We have to speak senses and speak some wisdom into the leaders' heads, because they cannot all fly over to Germany.
Exactly.
Sometimes the diseases cannot.
And you can't even make it because sometimes you can. It's not fast enough for you to get on that
they have
plane.
to wake up. And provide proper facilities in this
because I know we can do it.
Yes.
Nigeria is a rich country. And those things, if they put in place, they definitely can be done.
One thing I want us to talk about, while we talk about this here quickly, is that when I was growing up, the healthcare system was much, much better.
Yeah.
People never had to travel out of the country. We had A1 first-class doctors and nurses and facilities. We had operating rooms where you could go in and come out even much better than you went in. You know, we had nurses and doctors who were proud to do their work. What happened to those people?
I don't know.
What happened to those facilities? What happened to our leaders?
They just...
We encourage you leaders, if you're watching the show, to take ownership of this program. We have to improve on our healthcare systems. We have to improve on affordability, availability, provision for everyone.
Even America is still trying to find, they're trying to do something better. So we need to do something better as well, you know.
So in conclusion, what would you have to say? What message would you leave for my viewers about healthcare in Africa and what you went through with valley fever?
Well, I want to say that I'm, like I said, I keep saying it. I'm glad that I'm here today, and obviously God has a plan for me. And you know, starting here on your show, I thank you for giving me the platform to do this. And my goal, like I said, is to try to go into Africa, starting with Nigeria, my country, and provide awareness, provide education, and just having people, you know, join the bandwagon with you. Hopefully meet some leaders, meet some people who are good decision makers that can make this happen. Those are the things that I really want. And you know, just keep watching Unveiling Africa, because you never know what you can see or what you can hear.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this wonderful information, which I believe even here in America will appreciate to hear about. And tell us the medical or the official term of the disease.
It's called It's a fungal. The organism, name of the organism is coccidiosis.
Coccidiosis. So if you ever hear of that or hear of that disease, or that organism, you know what we're talking about. Thank you again for coming. I'm so grateful to God that you are here to tell us a story.
Thank you.
Because I know where you've come from. And do you see some resemblance in us here? Anyway, I am talking about it. You'll tell me. Write to me. Go to my website. You know what you think about this, what we're doing. It's always a pleasure to come into your homes. Thank you for making me who I am, because of you, I am, and because of you, I exist. Thank you also for my wonderful guests who make watching Unveiling Africa fun, informative, empowering, uplifting. And you can catch me in your neck of your woods when you visit unveilingafrica.com for air times and view and locations where we air our shows. Thank you again, and keep on watching Unveiling Africa, the award-winning